Riccatelli,
Here.
Cleveland,
Here.
Griffin,
Here.
Hairston,
Here.
Bashir Jones, Slight,
Present.
McCormick.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This Development Planning Sustainability Committee meeting is being held during COVID-19 emergency declaration in accordance with Ohio's open meeting laws as amended by sub HB 197. This meeting is being held using the Zoom platform and is being live streamed on YouTube and on Cleveland's Channel 20. It also can be seen on Cleveland City Council website and from Council's Facebook page. In accordance with Ohio open meeting regulations as amended by sub HB 197, notice of this committee hearing was publicly posted. The committee hearing will be conducted, as all committee hearings, in accordance with the council rules and Robert's Rules of Order. The chair will facilitate the meeting and call on persons to speak. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand option on Zoom, and please limit your comments to the matters before today's committee. As is the usual practice, any actions to be voted on during the committee will be done by voice vote, called and recorded by the committee clerk. Thank you very much, and sorry for the slight delay in the start. I was looking for a couple letters that were sent in for this opening portion of the Development Planning Sustainability Committee meeting, the zoning pieces. We have two pieces on this morning. 762-2020 by Council Members Griffin, changing the use, area, and height districts of parcels of land east of Woodhill Road and south of Mark Hummel Road. Will this be you, Shannon?
Yes. Good
Welcome.
morning. Good, thank you. Good morning, Shannon Leonard, City Planning. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see everything?
Got it.
All right. So this is part of the Woodhill Choice HUD grant award program that we have seen over a couple of rezonings in the past. So basically the purpose of this one is really to consolidate a variety of zoning districts to align with the Woodhill Up Next Choice Neighborhood Transformation Plan, as well as it also goes in line with the Thrive 105 plan that was done a couple years ago. It's also to allow the implementation of the HUD grant to address core goals of neighborhood revitalization, and to permit by right rebuilding of some distressed public housing, notably the Morris Black neighborhood, to create new and safe housing options, leverage the community investment to provide vital services, improved educational opportunities, and access to transit and jobs. And so some of the recent rezonings that you may have seen that has come through this committee as well as Planning Commission was the Buckeye Woodhill. It was a large rezoning done back in September 2019. A little bit east of here was in October 2019, also in this area you'll see. And then the Schofield Mansion, revitalizing that for some community senior housing. And so the current uses here are multifamily, general retail, residential office, and two-family. And so we're really just consolidating some of these zoning districts to allow the new plan to go forward, to get the financing that they need, as well as to bring in some revitalization in this neighborhood that's strongly needed. So the proposal here is really just to change the area in green from multifamily C1 to multifamily F2, and also adding some limited retail and north and south of the Woodland Avenue area. And so the first section you're going to see is the orange on the map in that little triangle to the above the area that we had just recently rezoned. And really this allows for infill development. It allows for CMHA to use the Choice Award program, and it permits by right townhouses, row houses, apartment houses. It also allows single family and two family. And in the other section that you see, limited retail D2, that would be in the south of the Woodland area. And that's really to consolidate that general retail residential office. It'll permit residential uses as well as neighborhood retail uses, professional offices, and other things that would cater to the neighborhood restaurants and so forth, but also it'll limit some of those nuisance uses. So it'll allow continued operation of current businesses, but it'll also give maximum flexibility. The top section that you see in green, really all we're changing here is the area, and that's because this section of Morris Black neighborhood really takes up 3 very large parcels. And so we're changing the area to F2, which will allow the development that is being proposed to go forward without needing any additional variances. as well as changing the height because they are talking about a 4-story building here, as well as allowing some small retail like a barber shop, such like that. Sorry. And so to give you some context, this is the neighborhood choice plan that was presented to Ms. Councilman Griffin, as well as our department, as well as our neighborhood plan on Market Fields. And really this rezoning is just adding to those other rezonings that we've already had to allow this plan to really move forward. So to give you some of the existing conditions, you can see this existing Morris Black housing, as well as along East 114th along Woodland, the southern portion of Woodland near East 110th. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that there is quite a bit of vacant lots that would allow, this rezoning would allow for some infill housing that is much needed, bringing all together, you know, a variety of housing typologies, which is what we're really going for here. And so this is the proposal, changing to multifamily F2, changing the Morris Black area to limited retail F2, and south of Woodland, consolidating that general retail residential office and 2-family to limited retail D2. Any questions?
This is the public portion of the meeting. And we have a couple of public comments that came in. The first one is from Antioch Church. I want to make sure we have the right piece here. Was this the one? It says map. It says ordinance 762 on the.
Was it map change 2615 or 2617?
2617.
Okay, this is 2617.
Okay. It says, hello, my name is Timothy McDuffie of Antioch Prayer and Praise Church. I'm trying to contact someone in regards to where exactly the new construction will take place. What does this mean for the service of our location we have for the community? And how are we as a church going to be affected, if at all, also during the time of construction? How will traffic be affected? And thank you in advance. And my prayers are with you all during the time of hardships. May the God of heaven and earth continue to bless and keep you all well. Councilman Griffin, did you speak to folks from the Antioch Church?
I sent them a message, Mr. Chair, and actually invited them to meet with our committee, community builders, CMHA, and city planning. They have not responded to me yet, but I did give them an update of what the project is via email, but we have not spoken by phone yet. Okay.
And Shannon, if you can speak where exactly the new construction will take place and what impact it may have on the construction may have around their surrounding area.
So Councilman Griffin might be able to chime in a little bit better on the timeline. This
Okay.
is really just laying the foundation to allow for the revitalization of the Morris Black neighborhood, as well as along south of Woodland, as well as a little bit of the area south of Mount Carmel. There's quite a few housing options that are being proposed, most of them being a mix of senior housing, townhouses, and residential living, as well as a mix of affordable housing and mixed use. And so I don't necessarily have a timeline for you exactly. I just know that the zoning needs to be in place to allow for the HUD financing to get into place.
And Councilman Griffin, can you speak on construction and how that will impact around the church?
Sure. First phase, Mr. Chair, what we're trying to do, we did get LIHTC dollars. If you look at where it has 110th Amanda Court, where that orange is at, where the multifamily F2, and you proceed to go right of your screen all the way over to where our lovely pictures are, that is the area that is going to be the first phase with housing. The goal is to try to build housing in 3 different phases so that we could actually make sure that we don't just massively displace anybody. So we'll build new apartments first right there at that location. The second phase will be at the old Burger King site, which would be all the way over at the corner of Buckeye Road and Woodhill. And that's the second phase. And then the third phase would be to demolish the Woodhill Estates Morris Black area, and then to build mixed use, mixed income housing right there. So right now it shouldn't impact the Antioch Church. I know a lot of people think this is the Antioch Church at East 89th and Cedar, but it's not. It's a small storefront church that is over in that general vicinity. And
So I'm showing that as 2561 East 110th.
Yes. So
Okay.
it's a small. It's actually a small church that's right directly on East 110th Street. It's
Okay.
right in the middle of the block. So they're not looking at displacing or moving them or anything else. Really, actually, we'll be building, like I said, to the east of where their location is at to start off with.
And our wonderful engineering department manages the maintenance of traffic permitting. And so everyone gets notification on maintenance of traffic when there is any disruption of around construction sites. So I know you have a significant number of meetings often in these areas. So that public comment will be available once this gets moving forward.
Thank you.
I think I have one other letter. This is from Alonzo Spencer. What will the traffic pattern be at East 110th Street and Woodland Avenue once this development is completed? Due to the countless automobile accidents, I would like to see a turnabout or some other pattern to slow the speed of traffic at this intersection. My home is less than 200 feet from the intersection. Thank you, Alonzo Spencer. Councilman Griffin?
So Mr. Spencer also lives a couple of doors down from the Antioch Church. It is approximately mid-block on 110th, actually right next to Amanda Court that you can notice, that you can look at on your map. The intersection that he's talking about is 110th and Woodland. I have communicated with Mr. Spencer. One of the reasons that this plan is being moved forward is because we're really trying to break up the super blocks. I'm sure I'm not showing you on my map, but the mid block between Woodhill and 110th, as you can see, Mr. Chairman, that's a pretty long block. And a lot of times the traffic pattern comes all the way from MLK all the way down to Woodhill. And there's quite a lot of intersections, quite a lot of accidents that take place on 110th and Woodland. So one of the things that we're trying to do with this plan is break up these long blocks so that we don't have a continuous traffic pattern going down and have more streets that cut through, so that we can try to break up that traffic. And once again, I am working with Commissioner Mavac, and we believe that this plan will help mitigate some of those concerns about that intersection.
Yeah, I know you have previously talked about traffic calming techniques around here and how to make these streets safer. We talked a little bit about this with Union Avenue as well. So I commend your efforts in working closely with the Commissioner's Department on doing those traffic calming techniques to address those needs. Those were the, Madam Clerk, were those the only two comments that came in?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll close the public portion and open this up to council. Councilmember Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really urge my colleagues to vote for this. This is, all of the initiatives that we take on this council are important, but this is an extremely important initiative for this area. The housing that a lot of these folks live in right now is just totally unacceptable. Some of them, a majority of them, don't even have showers. So we really need this zoning change in order to move forward for the application, because we have another NOFA, notice of funding something, whatever it's called. But we have NOFA coming up. So we're actually in the process of trying to apply for another grant. As you know, we were one of the finalists last year, but we did not get it. And now we're in the process of competing for another grant. So we really need the zoning change so that we can make this much needed investment in this area, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And the notice of funds availability are critical, and we understand the importance of that. And this certainly is a huge legacy project for your community and for the city. Any other comments? I'm looking at the raised hands, and I do not see any other comments from my colleagues or outside. With that, no further comments. 762-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you, Shannon. Ordinance 797-2020 by Councilmember Polensek, establishing the Lakeshore Boulevard Design Review District north and south of Lakeshore Boulevard between East 143rd and East 185th Street, map change 2615. This is you, Shannon, again?
This is Shannon Leonard, City Planning. So this really came about from Councilman Polensek and the CDC, as well as the neighborhood planner, Sharonda Watley, to establish this design review district. There were a lot of some things happening along Lakeshore Boulevard, mainly facade changes, some demolitions that weren't going through the proper review process. And really the councilmen have reached out and asked us to add a design review district along this area of Lakeshore. The other thing is to ensure that new development and any exterior alterations will complement and enhance the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Excuse me. So design review districts, most of you all know what those are. Those are in your areas. And really the purpose of them is to protect the property values and enhance the character and visual image of our neighborhoods. It promotes dense, walkable, mixed-use neighborhoods. It guides development through the city processes more efficiently. It also promotes sustainability and equity within our communities. It's designed to improve the walkable characteristics of all building types, residential all the way to industrial, as well as it's mainly intended for our main corridors, such as Buckeye, Lorraine, Detroit, and streets that are gateways into our neighborhoods. It really helps us transition from larger commercial buildings to our smaller residential streets. And the proposals that come through for new construction, exterior alterations, building demolitions, and signs typically will go through these design review processes in the areas that are designated as design review districts. These are our citywide design review committees. So there are large groups, and then within each of those large groupings, there are small committees within. So the proposal here today, you'll notice that the existing design review district, part of Lakeshore Boulevard is already in a design review district. So we're just expanding the design review district and just really establishing a new one, running completely down from East 140th all the way east to 185th and calling it the Lakeshore Design Review District. So I will walk through each of the areas. The first section here is from East 140th up towards right about East 156. So connecting these design review districts that are already existing. So here is an aerial view to east of 142nd along Lakeshore Boulevard. This is a really good example of one of the reasons why this design review was asked to be put into place. This building here at East 149th and Lakeshore was red. It was a red brick building that was in general good condition, and then it was painted black and yellow. That has now, I believe, changed due to the urging of the councilman and the CDC in this area. But this was a little bit of a stark contrast that really concerned some of the neighborhoods and businesses in the area that kind of preempted some of this request to add a design review district along Lakeshore, among others. The second section here is at the corner here, where Lakeshore is a little bit of a strange road where it just curves up to the north towards the lake. And in this area, you'll notice there's a mix of businesses and residents. We do have design review districts in other areas that are residential as well. However, the community should know that for any type of shutter change, door change, if they want to do siding, they won't have to go through the design review process that we ensure that our businesses go through. Again, this is where it kind of curves up towards East 152nd. As you can see here, there's some vacant properties as well as some large residential and commercial buildings along the corner here. And then the last part here is really from Brazil Road up to East 185th. And as you can see here, there's a mix of commercial buildings, old apartment buildings, there's several vacant buildings. And so we're really just adding this design review district here so that any of the demolitions, exterior alterations, signage, et cetera, that's added here, when new businesses come, we maintain the character of our neighborhoods and also continue the character from the core corridor streets down to our residential that sits behind Lakeshore Boulevard, going north to the lake, as well as to the east. And again, here's another Lakeshore Boulevard in Crestland. This last half going up towards East 185th up to the Catholic High School. And again, as you can see, there's a mix of vacant commercial as well as some residential or large scale residential. And so that is the proposal to establish the Lakeshore Design Review District in these areas, fillers between East 140th up to East 185th. Any questions?
Great. This is the public portion of the zoning committee. Madam Clerk, did we get any public comments for 797-2020?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the public portion and open up for council. And do I see Councilman Polensek? Is he online?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do I have any comments for any from any council members on 797-2020? I know this has been through Planning Commission. No further comments. 797-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much. And we will close the zoning portion and open up back to development planning and sustainability of the legislative portion of the agenda. Thank you, Shannon. I know Maurice was on also. Thank you all for continuing to do such a wonderful job virtually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
You guys have a good day.
Thanks. The first piece we have up is 751-2020 by Council Members Bashir, Jones, Brancatelli, and Kelly by department request, authorizing the mayor, the Commissioner of Purchase and Supplies to acquire and reconvey properties presently owned by CC Superior Holding LLC or its designee located at East 21st Street and Superior Avenue for the purpose of entering into a chain of title prior to adoption of tax increment financing legislation authorized under section 570941 of the revised code. David, this is you. Director Ebersol.
Yes, this is related to the piece that we heard a couple meetings ago for the cross-country mortgage relocation. This would be the first step in entering into the chain of title in support of a non-school TIF for the project. Just to refresh, the proposal would be a roughly $55 million investment in the area at East 21st Street in Superior for the construction of the corporate headquarters for cross-country mortgage, as well as a multifamily development associated with that. Previously approved as part of the discussion last time was a forgivable loan for the project and a job creation incentive grant for the relocation of the jobs. The forgivable loan was $750,000. The job creation grant was $1,150,000. All told, the project should bring down 400 plus jobs, roughly $40 million worth of payroll to begin with the potential to grow pretty substantially towards 750 jobs and about $55 million in payroll over time. So this would be the first ordinance authorizing a non-school TIF for the project, and we're going to keep moving forward with them on this.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, we did have a pretty robust presentation on this prior, looked at all the elevations and designs on this project. I do not see Councilman Bashir Jones online. And I'm looking to see if any of my colleagues have any comments. I do not see any hands raised on this. I'm pretty excited about this project taking its next step. No further questions. 751-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you very much, Director. Next ordinance up is 781-2020 by Council Members Brancatelli and Kelly by department request to amend Section 6 of Ordinance 176-2020 passed February 24th, 2020, as amended by Ordinance number 447-2020 passed June 17th, 2020, relating to applying and accepting grants from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2020 Federal Home Investment Partnerships Act program, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. And Director Wackers, are you on, or who is presenting on this one?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This is a technical change to existing legislation that was passed by the council. We need to change a sub-fund number from 688 to subfund 678 under Fund 19. This is at the request of the Finance Department, and we are seeking your approval and happy to answer any questions. I also have Commissioner Joy Anderson on the line, who administers the contracting for this ESG program, and happy to answer any questions around ESG if there are any.
Yeah, you brought the muscle with you, I see. This is just a technical change. This does not change any of the allocations or any of the uses.
Correct.
Any questions on 781 2020? I'm sorry, 781 2020? I do not see any hands raised. Okay, great. Ordinance 781 2020 stands approved as read. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
We had two pieces that were put on as an addendum. Ordinance number 817 2020 by Council Members Griffin, Brancatelli, and Kelly by department request, authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchase and supplies to acquire and reconvey properties owned by Fairmount Properties LLC or its designee located at East 105th Street and Cedar Avenue for the purpose of entering into the chain of title prior to the adoption of tax increment financing legislation authorized under section 570941 of the revised code. Is this you, Director Ebersol?
Yep. And then we might want to, if we could do the other one as well.
All right, let me, good point. Ordinance number 819 2020 by Council Members Griffin, Brancatelli, and Kelly by department request, authorize the Director of Economic Development to apply and accept an empowerment zone and or non-empowerment zone HUD 108 or loans from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development to partially finance the construction of the mixed-use grocery store project located at East 105th Street and Cedar Avenue, and authorize the Director to enter into one or more contracts with Fairmount Properties LLC or its designee to implement the project.
Great, thank you. So this is a pretty exciting project that's been going on for more than a year, really, that I've been aware of it, and longer than that. This is right at the corner of 105th Street and Cedar Avenue. It's a property that's been pushed together by Fairfax Development, who's been really trying to work on that strategic corner for a while. They're going to be partnering up with Fairmount Properties to develop a mixed-use building featuring about a 40,000 square foot grocery store and 130,000 square feet of residential space, approximately 170 units priced in that workforce range. They're going to be small units, targeting really like the sort of the hospital worker sector, so nurses and nursing assistants and folks that, all the folks that would be working at the hospital that would want to live close to work, but have trouble necessarily finding a place at a rent that makes sense for them. So they're targeting that market. All told, the project is going to be about $52 million in total development. The financial incentives that we're talking about today are going to help fill out the capital stack. We looked at a non-school TIF for the project. That TIF portion is expected to generate about $400,000 in annual revenue. And as we were looking at the TIF, we were finding that we were still somewhat short in closing the gap on the project. And so in working through it, we were able to take advantage here of applying for HUD for the ability to access the 108 assistance for the program, because the rates that HUD lends at are astonishingly low. They lend based on LIBOR, which right now is 0.25%. So you're basically getting money for free. So we were able to stretch that out, that income stream out, and bring the value of the TIF up by using it to support the 108 loan. So the primary repayment for our 108 loan will be the TIF, as well as a special assessment that will support some PACE financing, as well as our 108 loan on the project. So right now we're looking at the first ordinance to authorize the TIF, and the 108 loan, and then we'll be coming back here once we get the details straightened out on the PACE financing with the petition for the PACE financing, and then the second ordinance to authorize the TIF. So all told, it's going to bring a grocery store to an area of the city that really is lacking one, especially as you look, if you start at the corner and you radiate out to the south and to the west, you really, it's pretty stark how few grocery options there are for that neighborhood, as well as bringing in a really cool housing project to serve that area and serve the businesses there as well. Project will be subject to all our requirements. It's a HUD fund, so it'll be subject to Davis-Bacon and prevailing wage. I referenced that empowerment zone or non-empowerment zone HUD 108 loan. We have about $6 million worth of empowerment zone borrowing authority. This falls into it. So to get up to that 9, we're going to ask HUD to give us both 6 and 3 roughly, but just to clarify that. So with that, I think that's all I have.
And looking at the legislation summaries, all these have most all the city requirements, just the Davis-Bacon on the HUD 108, and then all told, this is about a $52 million project on the sources and uses. This is Councilman Griffin. Councilman Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I can't thank Director Ebersol enough. Just to give you a little bit of background on this project, this has been almost a 2.5-year conversation of really doing a deep dive in what we wanted to see as a community for this area. It emanated from a conversation that we had with residents at Karamu House, where Dr. Tom Mihalovich and myself met with residents to really have a discussion about what they wanted to see and how we can really work with the clinic to get them to make more investments outside of that facility and more so in the community. And we're very close to doing a lot of those things. This piece of legislation is critical and a very important step to solidifying that commitment and working closely with the clinic to get them to work closely and invest with us outside of that area. It originally was proposed to be a biorepository. After a long conversation, we had all of us, the clinic, Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation, myself, representing the residents and several residents, really put our heads together on what will we want to see as the best use for that corner. That is the last vestige of the Fairfax neighborhood on that corner. So we want to capture that community. And we wanted something that the residents that live there, that are second and third and fourth generations can benefit from. But we also want to attract new people. We want to make sure that we have housing options available for those environmental health workers, for those nurses, for those phlebotomists, for those dietitians, for those mid-range workers that, don't always want to go to the suburbs, that they want to live and work in the area that they live in. This is close to public transportation, so it really fits all of the guidelines of a transportation-oriented development. So this is a win-win for the community. I also want to state this. There's a housing boom that's taking place in University Circle. And right now, most of those people that live in that neighborhood go to either Cleveland Heights to go shop, or they have to go downtown to shop. With the traffic that is going to be coming through Opportunity Corridor, we are also going to have a tremendous opportunity to capture a lot of the traffic that is going to be going north to south in from I-77 down the Opportunity Corridor into the Fairfax community and University Circle community. So I say all of that to say this. This is a win-win. This is how we rebuild neighborhoods. We are also putting single family homes that we're selling in that area. This is the Renaissance of Fairfax. So I'm asking all of my colleagues to really help us finalize this Renaissance of Fairfax. This is truly a big win for the city. And I'm really excited about this. And I thank my colleagues in advance for considering supporting this issue. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman, and congratulations. This is these are amazing projects and truly transformative. I have Councilman Slife with his hands raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Director Ebersol alluded to this, but I want to make sure I fully understand it. Section 108 loans are secured by our block grant dollars. So this is a $9 million loan. If for some reason Fairmount were to default, our future block grant dollars would be on the line. And obviously that's a substantial amount of any annual allocation. So Director Ebersol, could you go back to what you had said earlier about the TIF dollars being the repayment source for the 108 and whether or not that low interest rate you mentioned, if that's fixed?
Yeah, so we have a variable rate with HUD. That's how we keep the rate low. HUD goes to offerings to fixed rates, and we can choose to do that if we so desire. But there's the ability to access rate swap mechanisms to push on the to sort of protect on the rate risk side, which we could work with the developer on. All told, we're looking at coverage that covers roughly 120%. So we've got a margin on top of the debt service built into that as well. In addition to that, we're also going to have a mortgage interest in the property and personal guarantees from the developers themselves. So we have the ability to track down what we can, if we were to, wind up in a bad default situation. So we've got first layer of protection is the TIF revenues and the special assessments, which are equivalent then to property tax. There's a margin on top of that will build a reserve. Then we have mortgage interest in the property, and then we have developer guarantees as well. So we're pretty secured down the line in the event of the deal going upside down.
Thank you, Director. And you answered the second part of my question, which was the other layers of protection. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chair, on that point, if I could,
yes, Councilman
there were
Griffin.
a lot of people asking for which position they could be in, and Director Ebersol really negotiated to make sure that we had that first position, along with another major investor. So a lot of people that are investing in this had to take second or third position because we wanted to make sure we protected our investment. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that we did do our due diligence. And in light of this season, I have to reiterate and underscore that this is a non-school TIF.
Thank you, and good point on that. I do not see any other hands raised on this. And when we come back, when these other pieces come back, we'll make sure we have some more attachments of massing and what this is going to look like. And congratulations, Councilman Griffin, on your Croatian accent on pronouncing Dr. Mihalovich's name correctly. I
just call him Tom.
I do not see any other questions or hands raised on this. With that, 817-2020 and 819-2020 stands approved as read. Thank you, Director, for getting this accelerated on our agenda. We understand how, this was a quick timeline to turn around before the end of the year. So it was very important to get this in. I do not see any other pieces of legislation. Madam Clerk, did we cover all our portion of the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.